1001 Questions and Answers on English Grammar by Benjamin Hathaway. Verbs. 1. Define a verb. It is a word that asserts action, being, or state of being on the part of that which is expressed by the subject of the verb. Note: the word assert must be taken in a broad sense, so as to include every variety of assertion, among which are deny, affirm, inquire, entreat, command, interrogate, etc. 2. Give sentences illustrating. Action: John runs. The man saws wood. The house was built. Being: I exist. He lives. They are happy. State of being: the child sleeps. He now rests from care. A house stands on the hill. The boy was beaten. 3. On what basis are verbs usually classified? With respect to their use and with respect to their form. 4. With respect to form, how are they classed? As to form, they are divided into two classes, regular and irregular. 5. What is a regular verb? It is one that forms its past tense in the indicative mode, and its perfect participle by adding ed to the verb in the present tense, or d only when the verb ends in e, as walked, walked, walked; love, loved, loved. 6. What is an irregular verb? It is one that does not form its past tense and perfect participle in the above manner, as see, saw, seen; hear, heard, heard. 7. With respect to use, how are they classified? Into transitive and intransitive verbs. 8. What is a transitive verb? It is one that is necessarily followed by a noun or pronoun signifying that upon which the action is directed, as I desire your permission. I gave him money. 9. What is an intransitive verb? It is one that does not need a word or words to complete the meaning of the verb, as the whole truth came out. 10. What does the word transitive mean? It means going over. 11. What may be the object of a transitive verb? A word, a phrase, and a clause, as she forgot her duty. I saw him. He said, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. I wish to go. 12. Give illustration in which the object of the transitive verb is not expressed. He plows and sows. 13. Give an illustration in which the form of the verb makes the subject show what the action expressed by the verb terminates upon. He was beaten. He was elected to office. 14. Give illustrations showing the same verb used intransitively and transitively, according to the meaning. Glass breaks easily. That breaks her heart. They returned home. He returned the compliment. 15. What is a cognate object? An object expressing in noun form the action denoted by the verb itself, as I dreamed a dream. 16. What modifications have verbs? Style, voice, mode, tense, person, and number. 17. What styles have verbs? They have 4: ordinary, solemn, emphatic, and progressive. 18. What is the ordinary style? That which is most generally used in writing and speaking, as we should improve our time. Our days are numbered. 19. What is the solemn style? That used in the Scriptures or in addressing the Deity, as Thou shalt love thy neighbor, etc. Thou art our Father. 20. What is the emphatic style? That used for emphasis, as I do like to study. We did comply with your request. 21. What is the progressive style? It is that style of verb which denotes an action or state of being as continuing, as I am reading, he is dreaming. This style may be used with any of the others. 22. What is voice? It is that character of the verb which shows the relation of the subject to the action expressed by the verb. 23. Define the active voice. It is that form of a transitive verb which allows the subject to represent that which acts upon something, as I study grammar. 24. Define the passive voice. It is that form of the transitive verb which shows that the subject receives the action expressed by the verb, as I have been agreeably surprised. The book is much read. 25. Do all verbs that express action have voice? No, as the passive form is a verb phrase by which the object of an action expressed by the verb is turned into a subject. This change of form can regularly be made only from verbs whose subject in the ordinary form may be represented as acting upon an object, i.e., transitive verbs. 26. Give illustrations of verbs used in both voices. Active. In 6 days God created the world. Passive. The world was created by God. Active. No man can do these miracles except God be with him. Passive. These miracles can be done by no man except God be with him. 27. How is a verb in the active voice changed into the passive voice? By prefixing some form of the verb to be to the past participle of a transitive verb. 28. Is every case where a past participle is combined with the verb be to be regarded as a passive form? No. Thus in he is satisfied. Satisfied has a pure adjective use, but if we say he is satisfied in consequence of the pupil's effort, is satisfied is passive, and the sentence is the same as the pupil's efforts satisfied him, cast into passive form. 29. Give illustrations of verbs used in an active form with a passive sense. The fruit sells for 50 cents. That wood saws well. The house is building. The grass cuts easily. 30. Give illustrations of verbs used in the passive form with an active meaning. The melancholy days are come. Babylon is fallen. The time is arrived. The folks are gone. The Lord is risen. 31. How are they to be disposed of in parsing? Merely state the facts about them. 32. What is mode? It is the variation in form of verbs for the purpose of showing the difference in the manner of assertion. 33. How many modes are there? The best authorities give but 5, though some grammarians include the infinitive form with mode. 34. Define the indicative mode. It is that manner of assertion which simply makes a declaration, as I know, he writes, have you seen the high water? 35. Define the potential mode. It is that manner of assertion which denotes power, possibility, liberty, necessity, determination, or inclination, obligation, or duty, as you can go, you might go, you may go, you must go, you would go, you should go. 36. What are the signs of the potential mode? May, can, must, might, could, would, or should. 37. Define the subjunctive mode. It is that manner of assertion which indicates doubt, condition, or uncertainty, as, even though he did it, he may not have known it. I shall leave if you come. If this be true, all is well. 38. What is peculiar of the subjunctive mode? As the name suggests, it is always used in a subordinate part or clause of the sentence. 39. What are the signs of the subjunctive mode? The conjunctions if, though, except, lest, unless, that, and some others. 40. Are these signs always present? They are often understood, as had he not known better, I would have excused him. 41. If a verb with a potential sign implies doubt, uncertainty, etc., is it in the subjunctive or potential mode? So long as the subjunctive mode is recognized by grammarians, all verbs expressing doubt, etc., must be regarded and parsed in the subjunctive mode, as if I can assist you, I will. Should you make another discovery, give it to the world. 42. How do authors now regard the subjunctive mode? As becoming obsolete, because the verb has the same form as those in other modes. 43. Define the imperative mode. It is that manner of assertion which is used in commanding, exhorting, entreating, or permitting, as obey the commandments, do come and see us, deliver us from evil, go in peace. 44. The application of this mode is limited to what person? To the second person, because in expressing a command, making an entreaty, etc., we necessarily address someone. 45. What is the sign of the imperative mode? It has no sign, but may be generally known by the omission of the subject, unless it should follow the verb, as confess your faults, prepare well your manuscripts, do right and the elements will be with you, obey ye the laws of God. 46. Explain what is usually known as the verb in the infinitive mode, as to give, to have given. They are not considered by the best authority as verbs at all, but derivative verb words. They do not assert. There is no limitation of the action, being, or state of being, by number and person. These words usually partake of the character of nouns and verbs, or of adjectives and verbs, but they may have the modification of the verb, such as, I wish to give him some money. 47. How may the infinitive mode be distinguished? By the preposition to. 48. Is the sign always expressed? No, it is frequently omitted. After the verbs bid, dare, let, make, need, feel, hear, please, see, and help, the preposition to is understood, as I bid him (to return). You dare (to tell me falsehood). Let us (to study the Scriptures, etc.). 49. When the preposition to is used before verbs, is it a preposition? It is not, but forms a part of the verb, and should be so considered in parsing. 50. What is the purpose of tense inflection? For the purpose of showing a difference in the time of the action or condition. 51. What is tense? It is that property of the verb which distinguishes the time of action or condition. 52. Into what classes are tenses divided? Two classes, simple and compound. 53. What are the simple tenses? Present, past, and future. 54. What are the compound tenses? Present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. 55. What are the two principal ways of making the past tense and the past participle in the English language? Starting from the simplest form of the verb, the verbal root, one class forms them by adding d or ed to the root, as love, loved, loved. The other class forms its past usually by a change of vowel of the root without adding any ending, as give, gave, given. And the past participle is formed by adding in or en, the vowel often being same as the past, though it may be the same as the present, or different from both, as bite, bit, bitten, fly, flew, flown. 56. What are these two modes of inflection called? The new, often the weak or regular conjunction, and the old, also the strong or the irregular conjunction. 57. What are the principal parts of a verb? The present indicative, the past indicative, and the past participle. 58. Why are they so called? Because the whole inflection of the verb is based upon them. 59. What does the present tense denote? Present time in the indicative mode, as I study, I do study, I am studying. 60. What extent of time does this tense embrace? Any extent of time, a portion of which must be included in the present, as Nero is justly abhorred for his cruelty, that is, was, and still is abhorred. 61. Explain what is meant by the historical present. The historical present is the present use for the past, as Longfellow writes excellent poetry. Thackeray says, "A good woman is the loveliest flower that blooms under heaven." 62. What does the past tense denote? Past time, however distant, in the indicative mode, as I studied. He was addressing the assembly. They died a century ago. 63. What other names are sometimes given to this tense? Different grammarians call it the preterite, imperfect, or first past tense. 64. What does the future tense denote? Future time, in the indicative mode, as I shall study, I will study. 65. What are the signs of the future tense? Shall or will. 66. When should shall be used, and when should will be used? Generally, shall is used in the first person, and will in the second and third persons, to denote simple futurity, as I shall go, you will go, he will go. 67. Name a variation from this rule. When a determination is expressed, will should be used in the first person, as I will go, and no power on earth can prevent me. In a case of compulsion, shall be used in the second and third person, as he shall not offend you. You shall obey. I will punish you. 68. What does the present perfect tense denote? Past time reaching to the present, in the indicative. That is, it denotes an action or event completed in the past, but continuing in its effect to the present. As I have written a letter. Philosophers have made great discoveries. 69. Name the signs of this tense. Have, has, hath, hast, in the indicative mode. 70. What other names are given to the present perfect tense? Some authors call it the perfect tense, others the second past tense. 71. What does the past perfect tense denote? Time that is fully past in the indicative, as I had written before I saw you. The train had left when we arrived. 72. What are the signs of this tense? Had and hadst in the indicative mode. 73. What names do some grammarians give the past perfect tense? Pluperfect or third past tense. 74. Explain the difference between the past tense, present perfect tense, and the past perfect tense. The past tense denotes indefinite past time. The present perfect tense denotes past time reaching to the present, and past perfect tense denotes past time preceding some other past time in the indicative. 75. Give further explanation of these tenses. The past tense denotes an action, state, or being as wholly past in such a manner that nothing remains of the time in which it occurred. As, I learned the alphabet. I was an invalid. The present perfect tense denotes an action, state, or being as past in such a manner that there is still actually some part of the time remaining to pass away. As, I have been sick this week. I have seen today's paper. In these sentences, have been and have seen denote occurrences that are past, yet they transpired in this week and today, and there remains a part of this week and today. Therefore, it would be wrong to say, I have been sick last week, or I have seen yesterday's paper. Again, in referring to the writings of authors, either the author or his work must exist at the present time if the present perfect tense is used. As, Cicero has written orations, not Cicero has written poems, for his poems are lost, but his orations are not. It would have been proper to have said before he died that Longfellow has been a professor. The past perfect tense implies by its very sign, had or hads, that the action, being, or state occurred previous to some other past happening, as I had finished my work before he returned. He had been sick when I saw him. Thou hast blessed us before we praised thy holy name. It would be incorrect to say, John had been here this morning, unless some other event has intervened between that time and the present. 76. What does the future perfect tense denote? Future perfect tense, or second future tense, according to some authors, denotes definite future time. That is, a future time which comes before some other future time, as I shall have my lessons before school time. You will have learned a great deal when you once know how to study. 77. What are the signs of the future perfect tense? Shall have and will have. 78. Do the tenses in their different modes or moods express time with precision? They do not. Those in the indicative mode come to the nearest. The present tense in the subjunctive mode implies future time, as if I go, you must too. The present potential may imply either future or present time, as we may go next week. It may be raining now. The present imperative implies future time with reference to the action, as call and see me. Remember what you told me. The present perfect indicative may imply future time, as when he has returned, I shall be happy. The past potential may refer to the present or future as well as past time, as I might go now. I might see him tomorrow. The present perfect potential may refer to present or future time, as I must have it now. They can have it tomorrow. The past subjunctive may refer to present time, as if I were you, now, I'd go to school. The present infinitive can scarcely be said to represent any particular time. It is usually dependent on another verb, and may be connected with any tense of any mode, as I wish to do it. I wished to do it. I have wished to do it. 79. How many and what tenses has the indicative mode? There are 6. Present tense, past tense, present perfect tense, past perfect tense, future tense, and future perfect tense. 80. How many and what tenses has the potential mode? There are 4. Present tense, past tense, present perfect, and present perfect tense. 81. What are the signs of the different tenses in this mode? Present, may, can, or must. Past, might, could, would, or should. Present perfect, may have, can have, or must have. Past perfect, might have, could have, would have, or should have. 82. How many and what tenses has the subjunctive mode? There are three: present tense, past tense, and past perfect tense. 83. What are the signs of the tenses of the subjunctive mode? There are usually if, though, unless, lest, etc. The forms are the same as those of the corresponding tenses in the indicative mode. 84. How many tenses has the imperative mode? Only one, the present tense. 85. Why has this mode only the present tense? A command, entreaty, etc. can be expressed only in the present time. 86. How many and what tenses has the infinitive mode? There are two, present and present perfect tense. 87. What are the signs of the tenses of this mode? Present tense, to. Present perfect tense, to have. The sign, however, is often understood. 88. What is a copulative verb? It is one that connects an attribute with the subject of the verb, as the grass is green. He seems independent. 89. Name the copulative or copula verbs. The verb to be, strictly speaking, is the only copulative verb in the language, though the following are frequently used as such: seen, become, appear, stand, and the passive verbs is called, is made, is elected, is named, is chosen, etc. 90. Give examples illustrating. The children seem happy. He became religious. They appear honest and sincere. The house stands idle. He is called the father of our country. He is made ruler over several nations. He is elected steward, etc. 91. The attribute thus connected may be what? A noun, pronoun, or an adjective, as he is the man. I am he. The flowers are beautiful. 92. How can verbs have person and number? In reality they have no person and number, but it is a peculiarity of the language that they assume different forms to correspond with the variation in person and number of the subject, but they do not do this invariably, as I eat, he eats, they eat. 93. Are the three persons and both numbers applied to all finite verbs? Both numbers are, and the three persons are, to all except those in the imperative mode, which are used in the second person. 94. Do verbs always change their forms to agree with their subjects in persons and number? The change is principally confined to the present tense, indicative mode, in the second and third person, singular, and to the auxiliaries have, do, and be. The verb in the three persons, plural, is the same as in the first person, singular, as they study, you study, we study, I study. 95. What is the conjugation or inflection of a verb? It is the variation in form of the verb in its different voices, modes, tenses, persons, and numbers. 96. How many forms of conjugation are there? 4. Regular, as I love, you love, he loves, etc. Emphatic, as I do love, you do love, he does love, etc. Progressive, as I am loving, you are loving, he is loving, etc. Interrogative, as love I, love you, loves he, etc. 97. What is the inflection of a verb? The inflection of a verb is the same as its conjugation. See above. 98. What is the synopsis of a verb? It is the arrangement of the verb in its different voices, modes, and tenses in one person and number only. 99. How is a verb conjugated negatively? By introducing the verb not after the verb in the simple present and past tenses, after the first auxiliary in compound tenses, before two in infinitives, and before participles, as I love not, I loved not, I may not have loved, not to love, not loving. 100. Give the principal parts of the verb go. Present tense, go. Past tense, went. Perfect participle, gone. 101. What is an auxiliary verb? It is a verb prefixed to another verb to express some particular mode and tense. They therefore assist in the conjugation of principal verbs, and hence are often called helping verbs. 102. Name the auxiliaries. Do, be, have, shall, will, may, can, must, with their variations. 103. Are any of the auxiliaries ever used as principal verbs? Do, be, have, and will are often used as principal verbs, as they do nicely. He is a farmer. We all have our tribulations. He wills me all his property. 104. Have the auxiliaries any participles? Only do, be, and have participles. 105. Conjugate the auxiliaries will, shall, may, can, and must. Singular. First person I, second person thou, third person he. Present will, wilt, will. Past would, wouldst, would. Present shall, shalt, shall. Past should, shouldst, should. Present may, mayst, may. Past might, mightst, might. Present can, canst, can. Past could, couldst, could. Present must, must, must. Plural. First person we, second person you, third person they. Present will, will. Past would, would. Present shall, shall. Past should, should. Present may, may. Past might, might. Present can. Past could. Present must. 106. What is a defective verb? One that is deficient in one or more of its principal parts, as present tense, may, can, beware. Past tense, might, could. Perfect participle, wanting. 107. Give some of the most common defective verbs. Beware, ought, quoth, may, can, must, shall, will. 108. Are all the auxiliaries defective verbs? Some authorities say so, but as do, have, and be, when an auxiliary, have all the principal parts, they cannot all said to be defective. 109. What is a redundant verb? A verb that has more than one form as the past tense or perfect participle, as perfect tense eat, past tense eat or ate, perfect participle eat or eaten. 110. Name some of the redundant verbs. Awake, abide, bend, beseech, bet, betide, bide, blend, bless, blow, build, burn, burst, cleave, climb, clothe, creep, curse, dare, deal, dig, dive, dream, dress, dwell. 111. Give the principal parts of the first four of the preceding redundant verbs. Awake, awoke, or awaked. Awoke or awaked. Abide, abode, or abided. Abode or abided. Bend, bent, or bended. Bent or bended. Beseech, besought, or beseeched, besought, or beseeched. 112. What is peculiar of redundant verbs? Many of them have both the regular and irregular forms. 113. Define an impersonal verb. An impersonal or unipersonal verb, as some call it, is one by which an action or state is expressed independent of any particular subject, as it snows, it blows, it rains, it thunders, it has cleared off, etc. Methinks, meseems, meseemed, and methought are also classed with the impersonal verbs. 114. What is really the antecedent of it in such expressions? It does not signify any real subject, but merely helps the verb to express action or condition without reference to any real actor. 115. When is a verb said to have a complete conjugation? When it has an appropriate form or use in all the modes, tenses, voices, persons, and numbers. 116. What is meant by a compound tense? When a principal verb is combined with an auxiliary verb, the tense is said to be compound. 117. What is a paradigm? A paradigm is the inflection of a word given as an example by which to inflect other similar words. 118. In such expressions as "he washed himself," how is the verb used? It is used reflexively, the actions being made to turn back upon the actor instead of passing over to a different object. Such verbs are sometimes called reflexive verbs. 119. Explain the use of the verb in the expressions "his decision was appealed from," "he cast up the accounts." These are cases in which the participle, a preposition, is needed to assist in the complete act of asserting. In disposing of such cases, the fact stated seems to cover the case. End of Section 8.